Today on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, meet the newest members of the Inc. 5000. I'll introduce you to these local entrepreneurs whose companies have been named the fastest growing in the country.
Plus, it's considered one of Hampton Roads' hidden gems. I talk with John Porter, the owner of Hampton Biscuit.
And this week we unveil a brand new segment, the Millennial Minute. Hampton Roads Business Weekly starts now.
Hello and welcome to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. The holiday season is almost upon us, and for many businesses, that means fundamental shifts in the way they operate. Over the next few weeks, we want to focus on these seasonal businesses and the overall effect the holidays have on business in general.
I sat down with Dr. Joe Bucci, a professor at Regent University School of Business and Leadership. We talked about ways seasonal businesses can maintain their cash flow. So Joe, I have a seasonal business. Maybe it's a company that gets most of its business when a storm hits, or maybe it's a vacation business, maybe it's a holiday related business. How do I manage my cash flow when I have that type of business?
One of the challenges for a small business, any small business, is cash flow. It's one of the reasons that small businesses fail, managing that. And people without experience in that, the number one reason businesses fail is because they don't have experience managing that. So for a seasonal business, it becomes more complicated because you know that a lot of your income is going to come in at that one particular hectic time. And so I think for the business person, the biggest challenge is really developing a partner, a lending partner, or someone who understands that business, because they have to really invest a lot in that business during the off season. And the payback's not going to be until that season occurs. We know with very large businesses that are seasonal, they're able to acquire certain assets. They're able to make those investments, but they can spread it out over a long year. But a seasonal business really has the challenge because they're incurring a lot of debt and hoping that the season goes well. And if it doesn't go well, then they're going to get behind. So how do they do that? I think having a partner who understands that business would certainly help. Having a track record. So
a partner being a financial institution?
Like a financial institution, that would be a good partner of theirs. Certainly if they can themselves try and manage their own cash and have resources that they would have available, or finding something to offset that seasonal business. So, you know, if we put pools in the summer, maybe in the winter we do something else. Number one, that helps with your employees, keeping those good employees.
Lawn care in the summer, it could be a snow plow in the winter.
Something, and those sound fairly typical, and people do that because, again, they're trying to get some cash in during those seasons when, or those times of the year when they're not as active, right?
Do typical brick and mortar seasonal businesses have rents that entire year, or is that something they negotiate just for those 2 months or so? How can they manage that kind of piece?
Well, that's the challenge, right? Your electric bill comes every month. You know, you can't call Dominion and say, hey guys, look, we're really, you know, the summer is when we really get our cash, so if you could just hold up on the bills, that'd be great. I think certainly an understanding of what those fixed costs are and when those fixed costs are due, and trying to make a determination if there's a way to offset that to cover those fixed costs, and then look at those seasonal costs that are variable costs.
For someone that may be watching that has a seasonal business that is getting into the season, what tip would you give them, if there was one tip, to keep cash flow as manageable as possible?
I think when, you know, as you're making money, you're seeding that money and investing it in different places so that it's available to you, whether it's certain assets that become available every 6 months or things like that. Investing certainly in equipment once you have it, but also investing in maintenance or putting money aside so that you can plan maintenance year-round. You can plan for those expenses that occur. That's very difficult. We tend to be really focused on the season and building up for that, and cash is tight. We don't know, we don't anticipate fully what that season's going to look like. But people who have mastered it that I've talked to have told me that they have to plan for those things. They have to think year-round, and that includes financing.
We had interviewed Chip Dodd I'm not sure if you know him, but he said that he breaks his business up into 13 different segments. So I guess 52 divided by 13 is 4. So the easy thing could be, break it up into 12 little segments.
Sure.
This case, if 4 is the easy thing, do that. So take the business and say, okay, even though we're going to make all our money in 2 months or in 3 months, really let's set it up so that we're making all that money and all of our expenses in 12 months or 13 months.
Right. Yeah. In our job, there are some people who pay 9 months and some people who pay 12. Well, most of us say pay us 12 because then even though the summertime is a slow time, we know we're going to get paid. But there are some people who say, oh no, I'm going to try and do something else in that summer. So thinking year-round is probably the best way to start, and then looking at fixed expenses, looking at income sources, looking at financial partners, and maybe mentoring, talking to somebody who's done it before, and they can encourage them through that process. I think that'd be helpful.
Great, Joe, thank you.
Thanks.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to the members of the Inc. 5000, owners of some of the fastest growing companies in the country. Then, how do you attract millennials to your business? Find out in the Millennial Minute when Hampton Roads Business Weekly continues next.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. We have some special guests in our studio. These 5 entrepreneurs have been named in the Inc. 5000. It's a list of the fastest growing privately owned companies in America. I am thrilled to introduce you to Scott Kale, Precision Door Service, Matt Saunders, Simple Real Estate Solutions, Sarah Baldwin with New Rovana Mosaics, Martin Joseph, 360 IT Partners, and Thanos Polisos, founder of ODU Rent. Congratulations and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So these 5 entrepreneurs have a few things in common other than being named to the Inc. 5000. They're part of a nonprofit group called Entrepreneurs Organization Southeast Virginia, and they're all friends. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what EO is and how it may have contributed to having you all receive this honor.
Cheryl, we are a influential entrepreneurial group here in Hampton Roads. We have about 11,000 members worldwide. Here in Hampton Roads, we have 65 members. And you know what, I think that, this group of us 5 really represent what EO is all about. We are very much about growth, and our core values really kind of speak to, that. And one of them in particular is, trust and respect that we have for one another. And then, the other one is boldly go. And that really kind of speaks to the growth of our organization and really inspires all of us.
Peer groups are everywhere, especially for business owners. As we've been talking, it can be lonely to be an entrepreneur. But what is it about this group that has helped you propel your business to the next level, and that has really tightened bonds amongst the group?
Well, I mean, I can speak to that somewhat. Is basically your peer group is your most important part that will actually make you succeed or be mediocre. So when you have friends you're hanging out with that are about growing their companies, you're going to feel the positive pressure of bringing it at your own company. And the other benefit that's really strong with EO is it's extremely lonely when you have your own company. There's no one to pat you on the back. You have employee problems. You have all types of stresses. One week you're great, next week you're down. And to have brothers and sisters that are in your organization that you can just call and or see at an event and just unload on a little bit, and they know where you're at is tremendous value.
When I first started my business, I had just graduated with a degree in fine arts, and it took me a while to adjust to the fact that I wasn't producing anything individually. I wasn't expressing my creativity individually. But my big aha moment came when I realized that I was still being creative. I was creating an entity. It was bigger than myself. It involved multiple people. It was collaborative. And I think that's what's so wonderful about being an entrepreneur and about these friends of mine in EO is that we're all creators. We're all producers. We're not consumers. I mean, we're the fountain, not the drain. It's a silly phrase, but that's what gets you through the hard times, is being creative.
And having this group like this around me. When I started my business, or this particular business in 2008, it was June 2008, the economy just went, right as I got into it, and I was thinking, what am I doing? And instead of worrying about it like you're talking about, I really just kind of focused on it, put my head down, and went from me as an employee to 12, 13, 14, 15 employees and a couple $1 million business. But you just have to stay focused and know that you're bringing people in and you're training them and teaching them a skill and you're giving them a job and they've got families they're supporting, and that feels pretty good. It puts a lot of pressure on you every day, but that pressure is what drives you to keep going. At least I did, for me.
Great answers, guys. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, but we're not going to let you go just yet. We have some more questions for you, so we'll have that later on in the show. I'll have more with the Inc. 5000 crew, including their thoughts on the state of entrepreneurship in Hampton Roads. But first, it's time to debut a brand new segment on Hampton Roads Business Weekly, the Millennial Minute.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Renee. And there are 3 essential things you need when marketing your business.
The first one is having a website. That's essential to being found online. And it's really important to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. So a great way to do that is if you have to scroll to expand and make your website bigger on your mobile phone, then it's not mobile friendly.
The second thing is a Facebook page. You want to make sure you're on Facebook because us millennials are always on Facebook. You also want to make sure you're engaging with your consumers. So make sure you're replying to their comments on your pictures and videos, and also replying to all of their messages. Now Facebook actually has an icon that shows how responsive you are to consumers.
And the third thing is claiming your business on Google Places. This allows you to be found in local searches and also has a click to call button for mobile phones. So it's really great to be found, and it's free.
And this is your Millennial Minute.
And we're back with our Inc. 5000 recipients, and we wanted to talk about business with these entrepreneurs. A lot of you are involved in multiple groups in our community, so I just wanted to ask you, what are some of the challenges the business community is facing right now? What are you hearing about?
Well, Cheryl, I think one of the biggest challenges that we face as a region is the fact that we only have 3 pillars that lead to our economy, right? Tourism, military, and shipbuilding and repair. And there's a lot of focus and emphasis being placed right now throughout the community on trying to find that 4th pillar. And there's been a lot of groups that are really involved in getting focused on that. And we all really need to work together to kind of move the needle here because we all are connected through our economy. Sequestration has some major impacts. We're starting to see where shipbuilding companies are starting to lay off a lot of workers, and that's going to have a trickle-down effect throughout our economy. And as entrepreneurs, we need to all focus to really get together and really try to figure out how to solve this problem.
And that 4th pillar could be entrepreneurism. And one of our roles as the EO, the entrepreneur organization, is to motivate and give confidence to other entrepreneurs to join our group or to make an impact on the community, blaze their own trail, start a business. There's never been a better climate than now to do that. And if you look at the statistics, small employers, mid-sized companies, small companies, they employ more employees than anyone else in the nation. So we just need to keep that up and make this place a comfortable area for entrepreneurs to.
I know in our audience we have a range of entrepreneurs, those who are thinking about it, those who are starting up, those who are at your level. And so they may be wondering, how do I get to that level? And they see that at one point you were right there with the ones who were just starting out. You were trying to figure out how to make payroll or how to pay the light bill. So it was something that you understand that they may be feeling right now.
Yeah, on that topic, there's so many myths about being in business, in my opinion. Like I remember people telling me, oh, it takes money to make money. And, there's some truth to that, but what it really takes is setting goals and then saying, how am I going to accomplish this? Okay, these are the obstacles. Let me figure out how I'm going to get around it. And if you just do that every day, you can start one man in your house. How am I going to get that customer? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And if you just keep doing that and don't pay attention to the negative stuff, and that's how you get started. You set some goals and you figure out how you're going to hit that tomorrow, and you just keep doing that, and year after year, as long as you're doing that and paying attention to that, you're going to grow.
The best things entrepreneurs starting out can do is increase their learning curve by joining some kind of mentorship program. Yeah. There's many out there besides EO. There's really no excuses. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that can help you, and we want you not to make the mistakes that we've already made. We want you to succeed a lot sooner. I wish I knew all this back then. It took me twice as long.
To his point, just a little example of when I first started out. Martin's the first guy that reached out to me, and happened to be pretty much across the street from me, and he got me into EO. In our first meeting, we sat down and had lunch, and he mentioned something that we were talking about marketing. He made a comment about something, and I made a note, and I went back to my office, and I started researching what he said, and he shared with me what he spent thousands of dollars to send somebody to get trained on. I sat down and I researched it myself and ended up cutting $1,500 a month out of a marketing budget and kept the same results. And that's the kind of stuff where you can get with a group of people and really help each other a lot.
5 heads are better than one. What is one thing? What is one thing you would share with an entrepreneur at whatever level?
I would, well, it depends. This is if someone's starting out. The resources that are available to you to learn are infinite. I mean, with $100 budget, you can buy a book on any challenge you're trying to figure out starting out. Just buy a book, buy an audio series from Audible, and I mean, it's amazing. And just learn, take the notes, and then put the action into place. There's nothing that you can't learn. That's just $20 away and on Amazon.
I'd say be absolutely passionate about what you do, and make no excuses for it.
Some fabulous truths and some great wisdom. Thank you to the 5 of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang out with Zach at the Handsome Biscuit, one of Norfolk's hidden hotspots. It's next on Hampton Roads Business Weekly.
Welcome back to Hampton Roads Business Weekly. We are here at Handsome Biscuit with John Porter. John, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
So I think a lot of people know about a lot of your endeavors, Handsome Biscuit, Toast, Field Guides. How did you get into the business world?
In the business world, well, I started selling paper bookmarks to my neighbors when I was about 7, but beyond that, fast forward a few decades.
Always starts young.
Right. I have always been interested in around restaurants, worked in some as well, and started brainstorming with my brother-in-law, Dave Hausman, and we decided we'd give it a go.
You guys have unique stuff. Handsome Biscuit is in an area where a lot of people probably wouldn't have decided to start a business. Why did you guys choose this concept in this location?
Well, a few reasons. We wanted something small to make sure we could create energy, also something we could easily afford, and we really like the idea of building people and communities, and so this was an area we felt like had a lot of potential geographically and with some of the particular real estate around, so we decided to start here.
You have 4 restaurants now.
Yes.
And potentially opening a couple more over the coming years, and each one is a different concept. So let's say that let's just say that there are franchises, right? And so usually when you franchise, you have kind of a playbook and you can always do the same thing over and over again in different locations. But you have gone a different way and said, we like Handsome Biscuit here, across the street we like Toast, in downtown we like Field Guide. Why do so many different things, and how do you manage them from a day-to-day with 2 other companies that you own as well?
So I think at the outset they certainly seem and are very different, but behind the scenes we try to keep as much of the mechanics similar as possible. So like a potential franchise, all of the systems behind the scenes are pretty much the same. What we do is we change the concept and change the specific offering. Doesn't mean that it's super simple, but again, we've taken on sort of that extra piece of interest because we want to add energy to the local community here, and popping up the same place on different street corners doesn't necessarily do that. Different concepts do, as we see different things that are maybe lacking in the market or something we think that could do well and people will get excited about. That's sort of where our minds go.
What is your favorite tool that you use for business?
Favorite tool? Wow.
What's the app that you open up the most on your phone?
It's probably either Trello or Slack, one of the two. We use them, both of them, a lot. One of them Slack really to communicate and keep communication organized, and then Trello really to organize everything from sort of long-range, more aspirational projects down to shorter-term kind of things that we want to try and implement.
So do you use Slack? So Slack is a online communication tool
Do you use that for your employees plus management?
Yes. So there are different channels that you create, both private and public, within your organization, and it's a great place. Instead of, as we have sort of grown, text messaging started to get a little unruly, and you had this. It was hard to find things, and it was hard to know what to respond to or what to be looking for. And so Slack has given us just enough definition to be able to do what we want, but not too overarching to kind of become cumbersome.
Favorite way to market a business?
Word of mouth.
So how do you do that?
Create experiences that people can't forget.
So you see that Norfolk is kind of becoming its own other city that people start to talk about, right? What does that mean to you that you've been able to be a part of that now people are seeing Norfolk as being a part of that and starting to use some of your brands as that? How is that kind of influencing you to do the next things that you want to do?
It really feels great, personally. Sort of, it's very gratifying. Being a part of something that is developing and growing is really great. I think there's a snowball effect for sure, and I hope that continues. Where there are certainly people who, including myself, but many others who have gone out and blazed a trail here locally, and some of that fruit is starting to sort of ripen, and now we have something that's growing. So it feels great.
Awesome, John Porter. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you.
It. Thank you.
That's all for this week's Hampton Roads Business Weekly. You can find the show on Facebook and Twitter at HR Business Weekly or at hrbusinessweekly.com.
For Hampton Roads Business Weekly, I'm Zach Miller.
And I'm Cheryl Tan. We'll see you next week.
Hampton Roads Business Weekly, sponsored by Regent University and produced by ABC 13.